Hello everyone, today is 5th of July, now it's 8:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for a day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And if you are first time on this channel and you are looking for news from Russia and commentary from Russia or Russian point of view, you are very much welcome, you are on the right place. And yes, I will start with a short update about situation on Ukrainian battlefield, and I will share with you information about developing situation in New York, Toretsk area, because it seems like Russian armed forces are about to create a cold room from New York to Toretsk and encircle quite a number of Kyiv regime forces in this direction. As a result of Russian rapid advances in previous couple of days, according to latest reports, forward units of the Russian armed forces are already in New York, not just on the outskirts of New York, but some military channels are suggesting that Russian troops already entered New York itself. I'm gonna make a headline, by the way, Russian troops in New York, and that would not be clickbait, isn't it? And simultaneously, while from southern side Russian troops are already in New York, from the northern side Russian troops are further improving their positions in Kirovo-Druzhba areas, which is, one may say, outskirts of Toretsk itself, which is the biggest town in this area. And it seems like if we take a look at the map, that's the approximate area that this cold room might be established. And if we take in account, speed of Russian advance towards New York, we can suggest that it is highly likely, or it is at least possibility, that Kyiv regime forces may collapse, their defense lines may collapse in this area, which will allow Russian troops to establish this cold room relatively in relatively short time. When it comes to other sectors of the front line in Kherson direction, there was no changes. Mainly now sides are focused on control over the islands on the Dnieper River and delta of the Dnieper River. It's daily routine, artillery duels, drone wars, and so on. In Zaporozhye sector, unfortunately, main hotspot is not on the line of contact, but Energodar city and the Zaporozhye nuclear power plant on the bank of Kakhovka water reservoir. This is nuclear power plant, by the way, biggest in Europe, which is located right next to this Energodar city. And almost on daily basis in previous updates, I was reporting about nuclear terrorism of the Kyiv regime when they were conducting attacks on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant and Energodar. When it comes to line of contact, no significant changes. It's artillery duels between the sides, drone wars, and recon force operations. On southern Donetsk sector, main hotspot is Vremovsky salient, and Russian troops are on the outskirts of Makarovka, now this small village here. And same time, Russian troops are continuing their advance in Urozhaine settlement, this one, right next to Staromayorskaya. I don't know how long Kyiv regime forces will be able to hold on to their positions in Urozhaine, but I'm already kind of surprised that this settlement is not yet under Russian control, or maybe there is no such a task to Russian troops to, establish control over the Urozhaine immediately, because Urozhaine can be used as a kind of trap or distraction for Kyiv regime in this direction, while Russian troops from their western side closing into Makarovka. Maybe that's what is going on there. Also, Russian troops are advancing towards Konstantinovka and towards Ugledar from eastern flank. When it comes to southern flank of Donetsk sector, main hotspot is of course Krasnogorovka, which is still divided between the sides, although on daily basis we are receiving more and more reports about further advances of the Russian troops. It's a slow process, but still of course, initiative is in Russian hands, and I cannot say how long it will take, but of course, not too long, and the Krasnogorovka will be under full Russian control. In Avdiivka direction, Russian troops also continuing their local-scale offensive operations. We have reports that Vashod settlement is under full Russian control now. Yevgenievka settlement will become under full Russian control just in a couple of days. I guess maybe already are under Russian control. We just did not receive the information about it. Russian troops also closing into Lozovatskaya, this settlement, and of course Vozdvizhenka, which is this tiny village, just a couple of roads, a few dozen of buildings. But right now this settlement has significant importance because after establishing full control of the Vozdvizhenka, Russian troops will have direct fire control over the main supply and support line that Kiev regime has to supply its northern groupings of the forces. I already mentioned Russian progress, significant progress towards New York and Toretsk. At this point, I guess it is inevitable that some sort of cold room will be created in this area. In Chisovyar direction, no significant changes. After Russian troops establish full control over the Canal district, of course, Russian side will take some time. There will be some operational pause to reinforce Russian grouping of forces in this direction, maybe bring some additional troops, and then we will see, of course, further Russian advances inside the main part of Chisovyar on the western side of this Seversky Donetsk Donbass channel. Just give it a couple of days and we will see intensification of the clashes for inside the Chisovyar, main part of the Chisovyar. When it comes to Seversk direction, no crucial changes, at least for now, but Russian troops are closing into Seversk from southern side, from Razdolovka area, from southern eastern side, Sporna area, and from northern eastern side, from Belogorovka direction. During this summer, I guess Seversk will end up on a line of contact, maybe even becomes under full Russian control. Also, interesting developments are taking place in Makiivka direction. According to some reports, Russian troops are conducting clearing operation now in this settlement, by the way. There is some industrial zone here, couple of streets, a few dozen of buildings. And yes, according to some reports, it is highly likely that Makiivka is already under full Russian control. And when it comes to northern sectors of the, when it comes to Kharkov sector, basically, in Kupiansk direction, Russian troops are conducting artillery preparations in direction of Petropavlovka, which is quite understandable. After establishing control over the Stepovo-Novoselovka just a couple of days ago, it is obvious now that main direction of Russian local-scale offensive operations will be Petropavlovka and Sinkovka once again. We all know that battles for Sinkovka were taking place for many months, like Belogorovka, by the way, but Belogorovka eventually ended up being under Russian control, ended up being liberated from Kiev regime, and very same will happen with Sinkovka, of course, in a relatively short time. Battle for Sinkovka is about to end, I believe. And when it comes to northern part of Kharkov region, no significant changes in Lipsy direction. And when it comes to Volchansk, situation for Kiev regime forces are deteriorating on daily basis, and Russian troops are establishing control over the more and more parts of the northern Volchansk that was previously held by Kiev regime. Citadel is still under control of Kiev regime forces, and therefore it's maybe too early to say that battle for northern Volchansk is closing into its end, but most likely just give it another week, and the northern part of Volchansk probably will become under full Russian control. only so much troops Kiev regime can sacrifice in any one particular direction, and I guess reserves of the Kiev regime that they are willing to sacrifice in Volchansk's direction is it's not that big at this point. And also, by the way, more confirmations coming in about Russian control over the Sotnitsky Kazachok settlement on the western side of Kharkov offensive, or not Kharkov offensive, but on the northern western side of Liptsi, basically. As we all know, this buffer zone that Russia created is divided in two parts. Eastern part, where Volchansk is main hotspot, and the western part, where Liptsi is on the line of contact, although main hotspot is still Glubokaya settlement, because Kiev regime forces time after time are conducting these local-scale counterattacks to establish to regain control over the Glubokaya, and they are failing. So yes, on the northern side of Liptsi, Russian troops seems like preparing another direction of this local-scale counteroffensives to create a buffer zone, and Sotnitsky Kazachok, this settlement here, with just a couple of streets, as we can see, by the way, few dozen of buildings, is under full Russian control, right on the border with Russia. And yes, there are reports also about Russian operations in Sumy direction, but nothing of the large scale. And yes, this is it when it comes to a short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. I remind you, dear friends, that for more detailed information about all of those developments on the line of contact, I recommend military channels. They are providing great volume of information on a daily basis on that. And let's continue now with some additional news. RT is reporting, and every other media outlet worldwide, I guess, does the same. We have news that UK Tories face worst election defeat in history, according to exit polls. Yesterday, of course, there was parliamentary elections in UK, and as it was predicted by many earlier, Conservatives in UK had a very bad day. Party, I mean. Although right now there is not really a big difference or any difference at all between Conservatives and the Labour parties in UK, and members of our community from United Kingdom can share their opinion, what they think about. But me personally see no significant difference between Tories and Labour Party. But anyways, let's go through this news. The UK Labour Party is predicted to win a landslide victory in the British general elections, according to preliminary exit polls released as voting closed on Thursday evening. According to the poll, Labour will win 410 out of 650 seats. This is up from 205 that they hold in previous parliament. And same time, Tories will secure just 131 seats, which is down from 344 that they had. Liberal Democrats, third biggest party in UK, will have 61 seats in the parliament. Nigel Farage's Reform UK party will have 13 seats, and the Scottish National Party 10. The Greens are slated to win 2 seats, and the Welsh Party 4. Sky News has described the Tories' result as the biggest electoral collapse in British electoral history. Official results will be announced later in the evening and throughout the night. So, this morning, by the way, now in Russia, in Moscow region, is in Moscow, it's 10 to 9. In UK, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. Give it another 3-4 hours, and probably we will have some official numbers confirming this catastrophic defeat of the Tories. Although, by the way, once again, I personally see no difference between UK's Labour Party and Conservative Party. I mean, they are the same. It's a uni-party, really. They all are puppets of the true rulers of the West. That's what I will say. And RIA Novosti is reporting that Sunak confirmed that he is leaving the office. He basically acknowledged a defeat of the Conservatives, and he will no longer stay in Downing Street 10. Okay. Next Prime Minister of UK will be this leader of the Labour's, whatever his name is, man. It's not gonna be any better than Sunak, by the way. They are all the same. Just garbage people. RIA Novosti's report that over the 3 Russian regions, some 50 Ukrainian drones were neutralized. To be more precise, 14 drones were neutralized over the Krasnodar region, 26 drones over the territory of Zaporozhye region, and 10 drones over the territory of Rostov region. Unfortunately, as a result of these terrorist attacks of the Kiev regime in Kubань, in the Krasnodar region, a child was killed as a result of these drone strikes. Another war crime of the Kiev regime and the tragedy. TASS news agency is reporting that according to head of air defense forces of Russia, about third of the all aircraft and helicopters that Kiev regime air force lost, about third of them were neutralized by Russian manpads. Strela 10, for example, or Werber. On a in a close range, basically, because manpads, of course, are operating right on the zero line and are targeting enemy aircraft on distances of 3 to 5 kilometers, usually, in average. Also interesting news that retired US general of the Marine Corps, William Mullen, died in a training center 29 Palms in California state. According to media reports, unexpectedly died this general, and he was in Ukraine just recently. And I paid attention to this news exactly because of this, that this general was in Ukraine just recently, and according to some reports in Russian Telegram channels, he was actively participating in military operations against Russia that Pentagon is conducting, or US is conducting. And who knows, maybe this general was neutralized in Ukraine by Russian forces, together with some number of other US military personnel, names of which are unknown because probably they are not generals. But this news about death of this general become public because of his status. He is general. So yes, it is a possibility. I would not be surprised at all if we will find out that this general was neutralized in Ukraine or received some severe injuries as a result of Russian strikes. He was transferred to US and died as a result of those injuries or something like that. Probably that's exactly the case, although, I mean, anything is possible. Let's see, maybe we will receive some additional news on that. RT is reporting that the US weapons plant a rocket by explosion So 2 people have been injured and 1 is missing after explosion at the General Dynamics weapons factory in Camden, Arkansas state. The facility produces Javelin and Hellfire warheads and charges for the artillery shells. I would not be surprised also if Russia will be blamed for this, and if Western media will start, or US media will start pushing this narrative that, well, Russian saboteurs did this and did that. I have no issues, by the way, if Russian saboteurs or pro-Russian, pro-humanity people, pro-humanity individuals will sabotage military-industrial complex of their evil Western ruling class. I will only applaud. I will only applaud for that. But yet again, maybe that was really accident. Who knows? TASS news agencies report that Zelensky, this illegitimate so-called president, by the way, of Ukraine, during his interview with Bloomberg, I believe, said quite a number of somewhat interesting stuff, and among them, he said that 14 brigades in Ukraine cannot be deployed on the battlefield because they are lacking military equipment, and he was complaining that, well, Congress already authorized this 60-something billion, and Kyiv regime is not yet receiving everything that these Ukrainian Nazis and the terrorists were promised. So he was crying basically in this interview. He said many crazy stuff. He said that at one point he said that Russian President Putin is afraid to leave Russia, while, by the way, Russian President was in Astana. Russian President was in Astana and participating with the work of Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit, and he had a meeting with so many leaders, world leaders, by the way, there. I shared information about it in my previous updates on my Telegram channel also. And this Zelensky, by the way, is so delusional, so out of touch with reality that he, on full seriousness, said to this Bloomberg's journalist or Bloomberg's propagandist that Putin is afraid to leave Russia, and that kind of nonsense, man. So how can anybody take this speech seriously, man? This Zelensky, I mean, it's total garbage, man. And also Zelensky, as office, denied information from Tucker Carlson that he will give an interview to Carlson. As we all know, yesterday Carlson himself, it was yesterday, isn't it? Carlson himself, a writer on X or Twitter and also on Telegram, that he might do interview with Zelensky. Probably there was some agreement in place, otherwise I don't think Carlson will say anything about it. And probably Zelensky received phone call from US Embassy in Ukraine, in Kyiv, and ambassador or deputy of the ambassador said to Zelensky to know his place, and he was not authorized to do any interviews with the Carlson. And Zelensky, being a bitch of the Washington and CIA, of course, denied this information straight away through his assistants that they will be interviewed with Carlson. In cheap prostitutes, by the way. That's what all those garbage individuals are in the Kyiv regime. And Zelensky, Yermak, Podolyak, all that garbage nonsense, man. Mistakes of the nature. I mean, nature does mistakes, man. And I mean, take a look at the Kyiv regime. Do you need any more proof? TASS news agency is reporting that, well, former Russian president and current deputy chairman of the Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, shared interesting information with public that on daily basis about 1,000 citizens of Russia are applying, signing up to serve in army and participate in a special military operation. And according to Medvedev, since the beginning of this year, some 190,000 people joined the Russian armed forces. 190,000 people since the beginning of this year. Quite an impressive number, and another confirmation that Russian armed forces don't really so keen on additional mobilizations or stuff like that, because they have enough manpower. They don't need anymore. Otherwise, they would be in mobilization, and if necessary, all of us will go and do whatever we can to defeat our enemies. And by the way, right now, TASS news agency is reporting, this is a breaking news for this moment, that Viktor Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, did not confirm information that he plans to visit Moscow in upcoming days. Earlier there was reports that he might visit Russia together with Foreign Minister of Hungary, Szijjártó, that he might visit Russia on this Friday, but or before end of this week, but he did not confirm this information. Anyways, let's continue. Vzglyad newspaper is reporting that President of Russian Federation stated yesterday he had, of course, conversation with the media on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Astana, capital of Kazakhstan, and he said that he received from the West he was asked by the some Western states to conduct, to agree on a ceasefire on a line of contact before ground will be prepared for some sort of negotiations. And Putin said that well, Russia cannot agree on any ceasefire because in 2022, when Russian troops were right next to Kiev, there was some preliminary agreement between Moscow and the Kiev regime. Russian troops withdraw forces from Kiev region, from Sumy region, Chernigov region, and Russia was lied. Western ruling class and their puppets in Kiev regime, they lied to Russia, and therefore there will be no more ceasefires from Russian side. Understandably so. Putin don't trust Kiev regime and the Western masters of the Kiev regime, and neither should anyone in this world have any trust to those that are representing this evil force of the Western ruling class, because they cannot be trusted. But it is interesting that the so-called elites in the West still are trying to fool Russia, by the way. Unbelievable, isn't it? They still are trying to fool Russia. They still think that they have some trust here, when they lost their trust absolutely. And if you ask me, Russian leadership now and after 10, 20, 50, 100, 200 years never ever should trust Western ruling class. Ever. Simple as that. Enough is enough. Western ruling class should never be trusted by anybody. Ever. RT is reporting that, well, Putin make also a comment about missiles, medium and short-range missiles. The Russian defense industry is ready to start production of the intermediate and short-range missiles that had been banned under the now defunct treaty with the US. President Vladimir Putin announced on Thursday the Cold War era intermediate range nuclear Forces Treaty, INF, had prohibited these systems, but the US withdrew from it in 2019 to put some missiles on the border with Russia, by the way, to put some intermediate missiles on the border with Russia. That's why US withdrew from this treaty. And Moscow chose to maintain their ban so long as Washington obeyed by it as well. And then quote, as I've said in a connection with the US withdrawal from their treaty and the announcement that they are starting production, we also consider ourselves entitled to start research, development, and their future production, Putin said on Thursday at the press conference following the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Astana, Kazakhstan. And I believe, by the way, there already are some works done to resume production of their intermediate and short-range missiles. And this is important, by the way, because this INF treaty was put in place by Washington and Moscow during the Cold War to basically calm things down in Europe, because main target of the Russian or Soviet intermediate nuclear-capable weapons, missiles, were of course some strategical areas of the Western Europe, NATO member states. And now when US destroyed this treaty, basically, Russia will resume production of these missiles, short and medium range missiles, and of course, once again, those missiles, warheads, nuclear warheads in those missiles will have coordinates of some strategical areas in Europe, among NATO on territories of the NATO member states. US will do the same. US already put some missiles in Europe that are targeting Russian territory, and Russia will do the same. So it is what it is. That's why it is important. US don't really cares about it, but European states should, but they are clients of the Washington. They are client states of the Washington, so they have no voice. They just have no voice. None of them, really. Just a few countries in Europe are trying to maintain some sort of sovereignty, and that's it. Rest of them are totally, total colonies, by the way. And now let me say a few words about this media project of mine. Let me advertise my channels. So yes, hopefully you will find or maybe you already did find my channels, my work interesting and useful. After all, it is necessary to have access to some channels that are not from the West, let's say. I mean, everybody is talking about Russia, isn't it? Everybody, and there is only very few channels that are based in Russia, like mine. And since I lost, by the way, this page on Boosty, of course, financially speaking, situation for this project is become from difficult to very difficult. I'm still I mean, this project is still in surviving mode, I should say, and I will be immensely grateful, by the way, if you will consider to subscribe to my Patreon page, where I have some extra content on regular basis. Today I will also upload some extra video there, and also on Boosty, by the way. You can, if you have some issues with Patreon, you don't want to subscribe on Patreon, you can subscribe to my Boosty channel. I'm publishing here also the same videos that I have on Patreon. And I'm saying this because earlier I see quite a number of comments from members of our community that they were not really in favor of Patreon for whatever reasons, and well, there is alternative Boosty. And also, by the way, if you want to support this project, you can do it with donations through PayPal and Boosty. By the way, Boosty platform allows you to not just subscribe but also to donate if you want to. And yes, let's do this. After all, this project is completely subscriber funded, and I hate to talk about this stuff, by the way, donations, subscribe on this and that. I truly hate to do this, man. But same time, if I want to continue this work, this is, full-time work, by the way, with regular overtimes. I spent some, I don't know, 12 to 16 hours maintaining this project, man. I'm sick and tired of it. And yes, no, I'm happy to do this work, by the way, but I'm sick and tired of being forced to constantly talk about these donations and stuff, man. Unfortunately, I don't have a sponsor, general sponsor. I don't do advertise, as you can see. I had some, there were some companies that wanted to, be advertised, but I didn't know about them anything, so therefore I refuse. I can only advertise something that I have trust in. Yes, that's been said. Let's continue. By the way, let's continue. Just keep in mind that this project exists solely thanks to support of members of our community. And well, this is also an interesting topic, by the way. Kommersant newspaper yesterday published this article, and I devoted to this article, to this news, entire video, by the way, yesterday, short video. This one here, second video, yesterday. And despite this shadow ban and all this craziness from YouTube's algorithm, it got some views, that second video. And well, point is that to be short, by the way, in detail you can watch that video if you want more news to receive. But Russian ambassador in US, Anatoly Antonov, write a letter to one of the Russian think tanks, to the director of the Russian think tank Peace Center, and in this letter he was congratulating everybody who is involved in work of this think tank for with 30-year anniversary. And towards the end of the letter he wrote with the hand that his work is his komandirovka, how should you say it, that his work in US is finished basically, and he's coming back to home, and he hopes to continue work with this think tank. And of course, Kommersant newspaper picked on that Antonov mentioned that his work trip is coming to its end, which is well, important nuance, obviously, and I spoke about it in that second video yesterday, because maybe some preparations already are in place to significantly downgrade diplomatic relationships between Russia and US, or maybe even cut these relationships. And possibly that's why Antonov is heading to home. And he was an ambassador in US since 2017, by the way. And well, topic is interesting. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's just speculation, by the way, on my part in this particular case. And maybe Antonov just wants to retire, or maybe foreign, he wants to be replaced, or foreign ministry made decision to replace him. Anything is possible. But in my mind, when I read this news, first reaction was that, well, something is going on here, and probably we will see downgrade of the relationships or complete cut. That was my thought when I see this news. That's why I share information. And by the way, official representative of Russian Foreign Ministry was asked about this topic, about Antonov is coming back to Russia, and she didn't really commented on it. She was asked about it, but she said that everybody may have some personal plans, and of course Antonov is no exception. And also Zakharova mentioned that it's a Russian president that decides who and for how long will be ambassador here or there. So she did not really answer the question. She, she didn't share much information, let's say this way, and therefore I guess speculations will continue on this topic. And because from 9th to 11th of July there will be some NATO summit in Washington, because nowadays at any day now, by the way, maybe before that NATO summit, F-16s will may arrive in Ukraine, and some large-scale attack and strike also may take place deep inside Russian territory. Some crazy stuff may happen. Washington may do this before summit will kick off, NATO summit, and in that case, well, I will not be surprised at all if Russia will make decision to significantly downgrade diplomatic relationships, or even cut diplomatic relationships with the US. But something is happening, by the way. I think something is about to happen. RT is reporting that India and China vow to redouble efforts to resolve border disputes. This was stated by Indian and Chinese foreign ministers on the sidelines of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit in Astana, which is well, great news, by the way. Of course, both countries, China and India, are crucial, immensely important countries for the world, and also members of the BRICS and Shanghai Cooperation Organization. And it is obvious that it is in interests of everybody that these two major superpowers in this world will have good relationships and resolve all the possible issues in a calm manner and politically. So yes, great news, by the way, because we all know how Western ruling class is operating. If they see opening, they will try to get involved and escalate between the sides. So New Delhi and Beijing should do everything they can to resolve all the issues and not to allow third parties to get involved and further jeopardize relationships between the two. Let's continue. And well, Russian president also stated on sidelines of in Astana, by the way, on sidelines of Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit, that this organization, together with BRICS, are keystones of the new world order, multipolar, new emerging multipolar world. And well, I guess Russian president is correct, because I was saying the same stuff for quite a while, isn't it? And let me check how long is this update. It's already 44 minutes, by the way. I still have some news left. I mean, let's go through this news. I will, at least share with you some headlines. Okay, this will take too long. Armenia made a statement, by the way, that they are ready, Armenian government, that they are ready to increase relationships with US on a level of strategic partnership. Okay, Pashinyan, after all, is asset of CIA, so he will do whatever he is told to do. He may replace Armenia's flag by US flag. I mean, maybe he wants to, Armenia to become some state of US also. I mean, who knows? You never know what the hell is going on in the brains of their sick individuals, crazies, like Pashinyan is. Vzгляд newspaper is reporting that Russia increased its exports of the agricultural produce up to 43.5 billion US dollars. Wow. Which is quite interesting. This is 2023 date numbers, I believe. So in 2024, probably this number will reach 45, maybe even 50 billion, if not more. Also, RT is reporting that Shanghai Cooperation Organization is speeding up the de-dollarization process, which is great. Although, by the way, I would definitely like to see creation of the alternative financial and the banking system by BRICS, Shanghai Cooperation Organization, with some other independent from the Western influence organizations, because the world definitely needs this alternative financial and banking system, isn't it? Definitely, because Western one is weaponized and cannot be trusted. And by the way, Bloomberg is reporting that Russia's revenues from oil exports surged by almost 50% last month compared to a year ago, as prices for the country's flagship Urals grader soared. Excuse me, and producers adapted to the Western sanctions. Also great news, despite all the attempts of the Western ruling class to destroy Russian economy, including Russian energy sector, they are failing big time, and Russia continues to make a good buck on its oil, but not just on oil, by the way. I just reported that Russia exported agricultural produce for 43.5 billion. It's quite a good number, isn't it? And I believe this number will double in next 10 to 15 years. Okay, this is it for now. A relatively longer update, but hopefully you will find it interesting, useful. After all, as I said, by the way, there are not that many channels from Russia. Independent channels from Russia that are doing the same as I do, sharing news on daily basis from Russia and commentary. So yes, hopefully you will find it interesting, useful, this video informative, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything to deal with the algorithm, because really, man, this shadow ban and this crazy algorithm sometimes may get to your nerves, because I see some channels, by the way, that are doing some, I don't know what they are doing, but they have some 50, 100,000 views. How? For God's sake, man. And I report about news from Russia while everybody is talking about Russia. And yesterday I had 2 videos, and both those videos barely managed to reach 4,000 views. What the hell, man? But anyways, it's okay. If people want to find channel, they will look. They will look for it, and eventually they will find my channel, I guess. Although you can help, of course, with this. You can share information about my channel in real life with your friends, and also on internet on the platforms that you are actively using. And yes, that's it. If you want to support, by the way, all the links are under this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day, and it's Friday, isn't it? Friday, so have a great day, by the way, and wonderful upcoming weekend. Bye for now.